Hi, Khamari. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm very good. A little bit tired today, but
Yeah.
we're pulling through. We're pulling through. How is London treating you?
It's treating
so
me very
far?
well. I'm having a great time. I've been here for 2 days, and I got the show tomorrow, and then I'm leaving the next day. And I wish I could stay longer because it's just been such a good experience. Yeah.
Is this your first time in London?
Second time.
Second time.
Last time I came, I was way younger, so I don't really remember too much of
Yeah.
it. But
Oh, right, okay. Well, before we dive into your recent single, Drifting, I want you to sort of take us back to your younger years. And has music always been such like a prominent feature in your life?
yeah, I can't really remember like when, like the time before music was really important to me, because I feel like as soon as I could like play with things, like I wanted to play with the keyboard. You know what I mean? As soon as I like could write songs, I wanted to do that. I didn't really play like too many video games when I was younger, and that was what I would do in my spare time and what I would like put my focus on. So it's always been for me like super important.
Because you were born in a neighborhood of Boston called Dorchester.
Mhm.
We actually have a Dorchester here in the UK
You really?
too. It's like,
It sounds kind of English, the
yeah,
name.
and then
Yeah.
there's loads of places in America that have the whole like
Yeah.
British names. Who knows what came
Yeah,
first?
yeah,
But it's
yeah.
like Greenwich. It's
Yeah.
one as well. But yeah, what was the music scene like where you were growing up, and did your surroundings like influence your current sound?
That's an interesting question. I don't think my surroundings influenced my current sound. I think I definitely did a lot of like diving into music and like learning because I felt like the sound that I had based on like that was more based on like like where I was and what I was doing at that time. Like I felt like I could do something a little deeper than that, and so I definitely did a lot of like diving and like listening to older records and like finding older artists and like kind of like really like studying their catalogs. So I would say it's more based on just like me doing like a lot of like homework and just like going back and listening to great music.
And what was like if any, was there a music scene in Boston? Like, you know, going out, going to gigs? Like what was your sort of first experiences with that?
Yeah, for a lot of people it is. I mean, the Berklee College of Music out there is a great school, and I went for 2 semesters, and a lot of people do have that relationship with it, where they go out and they gig every couple nights or a week or whatever it is, or a month. But I didn't have that relationship with it, so that was part of the reason why I moved from Boston to LA.
Okay,
Yeah.
because you mentioned Berklee College of Music,
Yeah.
and I wanted to touch upon that because it's such a renowned school like around the world, and I just wanted to know, like, surrounded by many other amazing musicians, do you think there were any moments where you sort of doubted yourself, and like how did you sort of overcome that, if any?
Tunnel vision. You know, like I think
You focus.
yeah, like it's hard because especially there was a point where you definitely go from like being in high school and being like the kid that does music, right? And everyone's like, oh, you do music. Oh, okay, cool. And then like you go to college with a bunch of other people that do music and you realize like, everybody is really talented. You know what I mean? So it's like, it was definitely like eye-opening in that way, that like, in the sense that I definitely needed to find a way, or I knew I needed to find a way to separate myself, which is why I left Berklee, because I felt like it wasn't helping me become a better artist. It was helping me become a better musician. But I wanted to be a better artist. You know, I wanted to learn like enhance that muscle.
When you look back over the last 5 or so years, like, you've obviously come a long way, you know, we're here at Sony now. And what are some of the highlights? Like moments that you might have been like, this is actually really happening for me?
I would say this is one of them. You know, like I would say like having the opportunity to come out here and it be like strictly a work thing because of music that I've put out and I've written or I've wrote in my apartment, or you know, like that's pretty surreal because of like that graduation of like we touched on like briefly, just like doing it from when I was like 7 years old, 10 years old, to like just playing around, and then it becoming something that's like seriously like my job, you know. That's kind of crazy.
So your track, Doctor My Eyes, which you released at the end of 2021, is both as sonically and emotionally deep. Take me through like what this track is about.
Dr. My Eyes is
Because this is like
Yeah.
one of your biggest tracks, and it is a beautiful track.
Dr. Mize is about that move from Boston to Los Angeles and like the headspace that I was in at that time and kind of the things that fell short for me in my life when I moved from Boston to Los Angeles and what I compared to what I thought it was going to be. You know, like in terms of like social life and, you know, at that time it was Corona and we were all quarantined. So when I had moved there, I packed my car and I drove across the country and I was expecting to be able to like go out and I thought like as soon as I got there, like just life was gonna be different out of nowhere. And you know, when I got there, I realized that A, you have to like still work for that, you know, and also B, we were all in quarantine. So
Yeah.
you know, like so like things weren't really happening like that. So yeah, Doctor My Eyes is kind of just about that headspace of being like, you know, I think I want more, but I'm not sure what more means. And I thought it was supposed to come more naturally, because I feel like we all feel that way, like every day.
Yeah, no, that's so true. I feel like any person who pursues a creative career, you always think it's going to happen like sooner than it does when you're putting in the hard work. So you're totally right there. How would you describe your sound, and how do you want your music to be perceived by the listeners?
How do I describe my sound? I would describe my sound as hopefully like soulful, and I don't mean soulful in terms of like the sonic description, but like the traditional sonic description, but I just mean like I hope that you hear and connect with what I'm going through when I tell the story in the song, because that's to me like what all my favorite artists do.
So tell me about a song or artist you're loving at the moment. It's a tough question because it's like kind of being like, oh, what's your favorite artist of all time? It's a tricky one.
Yeah, it's crazy because it changes so frequently. Because I just love to study music and artists and their like mannerisms and their like the way they say things and the way they like phrase things and the way they like use chords under certain emotional like phrases. And it's just like, to me, I like to like really dive into that. And so I'll like listen to an artist for a couple months and then like move on to another one. But right now I'm listening to a lot of Ray Charles and I'm listening to a lot of Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Okay, so that leads me into my next question, is there a genre or specific album that you've drawn inspiration from in the past that people might not expect you to listen to because of your sound? You know, because your sound is beautiful, very soulful.
I would say a Morning View by Incubus. I drew a lot of inspiration from, especially for Dr. My Eyes. And I would say Continuum by John Mayer.
So you have released your newest single, Drifting. I love this track. It's the feel-good sample, right? Yeah. Feeling good. It's so beautiful. Thank you. Everyone, check it out because I've got it on repeat at the moment. But tell me about what this track is about. It's a lot more like sort of upbeat than say like Dr. My Eyes. It's
interesting because it's a lot more upbeat, but it's still a very like melancholy song, right? Like it's about that, like that feeling good is about like Nina Simone's like search for euphoria and like the pursuit of that type of happiness. And you know, I'm kind of talking about a lack of that in my life and or at that time and just like feeling like I was chasing that, but also just feeling like so like stagnant in what I was doing and like not being able to get out of it no matter what I was trying to do at the time. So I just thought like putting those two things together kind of like was the perfect storm of like juxtaposition. It kind of like told the story in a way better way than either of those things could do separately alone, you know what I mean?
Is the lyricism like a really important aspect of what you do, and sort of what comes first in your creative process?
Lyrics almost like always come last.
Really?
Yeah. Because
okay.
I think it's because I think the music is like comes very naturally to me, in that like I know immediately what chords I like, but the hardest thing for me is like to know what I want to say and how I want to say it. So I like to take the most time figuring that out, And whether it's like with a collaborator or whether it's by myself, sometimes that just takes a minute.
So would you say like the music sort of speaks to you? You know, because like you don't always need lyrics to get a feeling or like an emotion out of like a song, and then you sort of put the lyrics like maybe to it after, like
exactly,
just like that.
Exactly.
So what were some of your favorite moments creating this track?
Just in the collaborators, just like working with different collaborators, because you know some of the songs that I've worked on recently I've done by myself, and I think that was another thing about moving to LA that I was looking forward to, is just expanding my circle of collaborators. So definitely that was one part of it, but definitely this was also my first song that I had put a sample in, and so for me that was kind of a stepping stone, because it was like, okay, I kind of figured out how I want to utilize samples when I utilize them. I don't just want to throw it on there as another musical element. I want to use it very intentionally as a way to elevate the song.
Do you have any hobbies outside of music? And what are they?
No. I mean, I
mean, ratings.
For the last year, I've been very like keen on like staying fit and like trying to eat a little bit better and like taking care of myself, because I feel like when you take care of yourself, your mental is way better.
Yeah, that's so true.
But other than that, nah, this is really just making music.
I love it. So what's up next for you? What can we expect to see in the future?
More music, more consistently. Okay. I think now that I took a little bit of a break between Dr. Mai's and Drifting, just to like figure out what I wanted to say and how I wanted to say it. But I would say that definitely now just is like it's the start of a chapter for me, of putting out music and telling the story about, you know, where I was, where I am really.
So do you think that we will see an album soon? An EP?
Early next year, maybe, yeah.
Ooh. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Use a little more dopamine.